Ladies and gentlemen, hello, welcome to Live Oaks. This is Live Oaks. I'm with Jadek and we're in the Tier 10 Japanese medium tank for the STB1. This is a lesser played tank for us, but we thought we'd jump into it, just do something different, I guess. Today we're going to be looking at seriously advanced gameplay, and I mean, I would consider this to be expert level gameplay. If you want a ballpark for what I'm talking about, I'd suggest beginner gameplay is kind of knowledge of tanks, lower plates, weaknesses, cupolas. I class that as kind of beginner for this game. Advanced is sort of tactics, positioning, where you should go in the map, what you should do with certain tanks and certain classes, mobility, stuff like that. And then I'd say expert is further than that. It's more about why you should do something, and preparing, anticipation, stuff like that. So that's exactly what we're looking at here, because this game is probably, from my point of view, I think the best tactical game I've played in quite a while. So let's look at what happens here. So, ballpark, let's get you orientated. This is orientation for this game. At the start of the game, as many of you know, I orientate myself, and I decide where my team is likely to have the biggest weakness on the map. And right now, it is clearly the eastern flank. The enemy have a massive advantage in terms of medium tanks, 2 backchats, 3 TVPs, 3 very respectable players who are in a platoon. What do we have? STB1, Object 140. That is our medium tank force. It's 3 versus 6. So we are going to lose the east of the flank. Enough said. The enemy have got 2 RTs, so we don't want to expose ourselves to that. The collateral damage on their team is an RU-251 and a T-49. It kind of balances out with R-1390 and RU-251. So collateral damage is not an issue. But there are TVPs on the enemy team. In fact, all of the enemy team's medium tanks are autoloaders. What does this mean for us? It means that we have to not overcommit, which is why you see me and Jadek holding back so much here, because if we overcommit, those are the kind of tanks that will punish you for it, and you will instantly die. So when playing against autoloaders, make sure you play carefully, and you know where they are and what they're doing before you make a move, because those tanks will punish you for it. So we hold back here, and at this point I'm saying to Jadek, I really don't think we can win this, man. And I'm watching the sheer and utter incompetence of this 113 as he pushes up here, and then I think, okay, something's going to go out wide there, and it's going to shoot in at that 113. And I'm going to be able to, I get lit up there, so I have a blind shot. But, I mean, this is just disgraceful play from these guys. The 113 and the WZ, the Stonier there costing me shots. I mean, how can you not know that that's going to happen? You're overcommitted against autoloaders. I mean, it was quite clear that this was going to be the result of their maneuver, which is why we're staying back here, trying to pick up careful shots. We know we can't commit here. Our intent is not to win this flank. Our intent is to hold for long enough that our superior forces that have an advantage on the other flank can win that engagement and can win through to their base. That's the objective. If you want to think about it like, if you're a beginner in one of the tanks and don't really get what's going on, I'd suggest make this your rule. You have to win one flank, okay? And whatever flank that is does not matter, because the objective basically is to get to the enemy base before they get to yours. That's a very basic overview of what you're looking at here. And so when your entire team goes down one flank and you're one solo tank left alone on the other flank against the hordes of enemy forces, and you go ranging to your team, you're the one in the wrong. You should be just pushing the other flank with a superior force as fast as possible. Once you know that that flank is clear, then you turn around and you get a safe position to defend base for long enough for your team to capitalize on the advantage that they got whilst having a superior force. Because if you're seeing loads of your team over on one flank, then you know by looking at it, okay, we've got an advantage over there. If we push, we're going to win. chances are that the enemy have not also sent all of their tanks down one flank. So the enemy will be slower by nature, they will be slower to exploit that advantage. Meaning it's so important if you've got all your tanks on one flank to push. And it's so important if you've got an advantage on one flank due to the enemy having 6 mediums and only 3 heavies, whereas you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tanks functioning as heavies and a very good Jagdpanzer and IS-7. It's important that you play slow on the other flank, try and get as much time, buy as much time for your team as you can. Now, you can see me just pointing my tank in the opposite direction here. It's because I know I'm going to have to get out of this flank very, very soon. Once that WZ goes down, it's basically the last line of defense. And hang on. We've got to see this. We've got to... I mean... You know, I'm thinking of doing a series called Noob Logic, where basically I just use my knowledge of the game to try and analyse and postulate what people like this gentleman could possibly be thinking is going to happen so that situations like this go well for them. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get what he was possibly thinking would have gone well here for him. I mean, yeah, he just comes up here and just pretty much instantly gets massacred because the batchat comes over. And now, like, it was just never going to work. And in the meantime, me and Jadek have decided that, yeah, we're out. And this is getting into the advanced gameplay. The fact that we recognised the situation early and reacted to it, I'd suggest that's advanced gameplay. And I'm pointing my gun at the batchat. I'm not intending to stop here. You can see me make use of the R function to stabilise my gun a bit. I'm wiggling, trying not to take him coming far. There's the R move, and it does get the batchat killed from a long shot by the Waffle. But now, again, it's about defence. It's about trying to set up. You can see me and Jadek here, got multiple lines of engagement. Jadek is supporting like Waffle, I'm supporting Jadek. The enemy have to push into a lot of fire to advance on our base here, and so hopefully we can hold. Now, the thing about good players, and this is coming on to the why you shouldn't fear good players portion of this video. Good players are predictable. And this is something that I've been noticing, and it's really quite odd. Because I actually fear bad players. Well, with the kind of player that I am, I fear bad players more than I fear good players. Because bad players mess up my plans. Most of you know, I make a plan for my gameplay. I look at a situation and I say, okay, I can do that, then that will happen, then that will happen, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of that is formulated on the knowledge of what is logical, what is most logical for other players to do in response to my actions. Now, good players will do those things, and my plan will go off without a hitch. Bad players will not, because they have no idea what they're doing. And their incompetence kind of messes up my game plan, and I take more damage, or I have to do something differently, or do something weird. You know, and so good players end up being predictable, because they will generally always make the right play, and once you're at a skill level where you know what theoretically is the right play in this situation, you can predict the actions of a good player a lot more than you can predict the actions of a bad player. And good players aren't... Here's the thing, there's a limit to what... There's a hard limit to what anyone can do in a particular tank, because there is a limit on traverse speed, there's a limit on armor, there's a limit on pen, there's a limit on DPM. These players have a limit, and if you think of it like a giant scale, like a skill level scale, a skill scale, it always remains balanced. The amount of skill in an engagement, the amount of potential in an engagement always is balanced. But what changes is the skill level of the individual sections. So, For example, if you have a good player and a bad player in the engagement, scales would be tilted like this. The good player is better because the bad player is worse. Like, it always balances out. If two players are equal skill level, then it's like this. If one's really bad and the other's just a bit better, then that guy goes up on the scale. You know, it helps to think of it like that, because you can visualize how good players exploit the weaknesses of their opponents, and that's really what they do. They may have knowledge and be really good at the game in that respect, but all they can really do is exploit an advantage that is proportional to the tank that they're in. So, despite players being good, you shouldn't fear them any more than you fear another player in a tank that's the same, because they are limited by your tank. Their tank, and they're limited by what you do as a player. You still have an impact in their gameplay, especially if you're in a same tier tank. Now, that's why you shouldn't fear good players. And now here is the expert unicum amazing call that I made in this game. Now, as I'm saying, good players are predictable. Platoons are also predictable. Now, TVPs has a speed limit of 60 kilometers an hour. They're incredibly fast tanks. They are all going to have gone back to base. All of them. Now, I have no... That's not judged on anything that's being presented in this game, other than the fact that they have not appeared. These are fast tanks. They would have appeared by now and they would have killed this Fuffle, at least. The ST-1's already there. They would have been spotted by that. So, from that judgment, I can deduce that every single one of that platoon has gone back to base. And as a result, we actually have an advantage on the eastern flank again. And what was so good about this call for me is that I picked it up so quickly. Instantly. It was like a bait. It was like, we fell back from that flank, the enemy thought, okay, we've won, those STBs are relocating, blah blah blah, they're gonna wait in that dip, let's fall back to base, kill everything else, then fall back and deal with it. Like, and it's like, okay, instantly, I'm on to what you're doing, I'm not gonna let you do that, and we're gonna push in here on the counter-attack, while the enemy TVPs are maybe back here, trying to relocate to their buddy here. That guy's most likely gonna get out to there with supporting fire from here. We are going to nap up what remains of their forces over here while they are distracted. And for me, this is not a gamble. You might look at it and say, oh, you were lucky. Well, it's from experience. You know, I make this call from having the experience of players and playing in a platoon and doing this very maneuver that the TVPs are doing. And so, really, it wasn't a question for me. It's, okay, yes, they have definitely fallen back to base. And so we actually have an advantage in the situation. Now, it all comes down to focus fire at this point. 7.5 rounds per minute on the STB-1 with 390 alpha damage. It's the second highest DPM on any tier 10 medium. And when calling focus fire as a platoon commander, you've got to think about two main things. Well, you've got to think about threat level. The T10 has higher DPM than this IS-7. He's also got less health than the IS-7. So, he's easier to kill, and he's more logical to kill, because he'll put out more damage in a short space of time than the IS-7. So, we instantly switch our focus fire to the T10. You can see me shaking the cannon back and forth, trying to make a decision here. And I call focus fire on the T10, and Jeddah instantly switches targets, and I'm getting harassed by this IS-7. I do manage to get the drive wheel shot to keep him in place as we continue to go for focus fire on Dreadhead's target, T10, and we take him down. Now, that was an interesting engagement here. I pulled the IS-7 over this ridge line, tracked him, then disengaged, and went back to help with Dreadhead. Now, I could probably, with my DPM, had killed this IS-7 in a solo fight, but it doesn't matter. We were focusing on the T-10, and I need to get back to JDEG because we're working as a platoon. That's how it works. And so I dive back over here. That way I can consolidate far from JDEG. I can help him with this ST-1. Now, the IS-7 foolishly is not going to get involved in this engagement and has disengaged. The ST-1 decides to shoot JDEG. I don't know why. I was on lower hit points. We take the STI down, and the IS-7 has fired. I've still got enough hit points to take a hit, so I'm going to dive headlong into this combat. Right below the spaced armor, and I could wait at this point, but I was hull down, and I was thinking maybe mid-turret armor can do something. And not today. STB-1's turret armor is okay, but it's not. It's not an IS-7. Let's just say that. So, gentlemen, I hope you can understand everything that I covered here. You can understand just how I don't know, how good this play was, because from my point of view, I look at it as like, a couple of months ago, I would not have been able to make that call. I think this was, it's one of the reasons that I was kind of hesitant about covering it in the issue video, because I feel like it demonstrates more personal growth. Like, I don't feel like I'm saying, okay, you should do this, you should do that. I feel like I'm saying, hey look, I'm at this level now, and I'm proud of that. I don't feel like it's a helpful video for many circumstances, but I still wanted to cover it because it demonstrates a certain level of skill that I feel like I've achieved, and I am proud of that. I mean, why shouldn't I be? So, 2,000 damage in a tier 10 medium tech is kind of underwhelming, and yet we're really proud of it. And indeed the artist saying, good job STB-1s, and it's surprising to me that this gentleman can recognise that. Oh, look at that TVP. Oh, is there a more formidable... GG, GW100. Good game. Okay. Is there a more formidable platoon of tanks to face at tier 10? I mean, there's some debate for T-50s and heavies, but at least you can run away from T-50s and heavies. TVPs, just no. Gentlemen, let me know what you thought of the video. As always, I very much value your opinion and your comments and your likes, so thank you very, very much, gentlemen, and until next time, farewell, gentle beings. Gentle beings.
Jingle! Sure. No. It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Can you stop stamping, please, killer?